Howdy folks, welcome back to my YouTube channel. I am your host, Mighty Bjorn, and today for you, I have a Bjorn's Mighty Thoughts video. Going to be just taking some time talking about Operation Harsh Doorstop. This is actually a game that is currently in development by Drakeling Labs, and they are going to publish it in conjunction with Microprose. I'm going to show some game footage here so you can actually see what I'm talking about. Now, this is from the early access single player demo. I don't have access to the multiplayer demo, so I really don't know what the servers are like or anything of that nature. But I am going to talk about what I saw within the realm of the gunplay and etc. This is not going to be a full review, folks. That's not what this is. It's just me talking about it and trying to give some premise for the game for those who have never heard about Operation Harsh Doorstop. They are making the game with their own engine. It's the OHD engine, OHD core. And generally speaking, from the mode that they had available, it's pretty much just run around, kill enemies, and capture points, capture locations. And once the location is captured and actually secured, you can actually use that location as a respawn point. Some very similar to Hell Let Loose, to be honest. There are some similarities here to Hell Let Loose and other tactical shooters, which that's what this game is. It is a tactical shooter. They are intending it to be a free-to-play game. I'm not really sure how that's going to work out for long term, but it is interesting of how they're doing it. Instead of essentially coming out with constantly coming out with premium content, the premise is they're using Patreon, and the Patreon supporters are the ones that are actually funding this game, which, by the way, I will put a link for the Patreon in the video description down below, so you can go check that out. They also have a website as well, so plenty of information to look up on the game and what they're intending to do. Right now, it's just basic infantry-style combat, something like you have with Day of Infamy, which actually is a really good World War II shooter that you can get on Steam for fairly cheap. The cap points are actually randomized. I think that's actually a cool feature that will allow for continuous playing the same maps over and over again, because it'll change the locations of where you're fighting, where you're spawning, where you're deploying. You can play as both Blue 4 and Op 4. Some of the missions I'm playing as Blue 4. The World War I there, I was actually playing as Op 4. So there's that in itself. There are squads in it like Hell Let Loose. The kits are based on whatever you select. You don't have customized kits like you would, say, with Arma. Honestly, as a tactical shooter, this game's not as fleshed out as, say, Arma or Hell Let Loose. That being said, this is just an early access demo. They do actually have a roadmap up of things they want to add in. I see in light vehicles on the roadmap, as well as heavy vehicles such as tanks. And I do believe they may have intentions for aircraft as well, and maybe some additional game modes. So there's all kinds of different stuff that they intend to do with this. And their intentions really is to make like a core shooter that you can do anything and everything with, which in all honesty, you already have with Arma, except for Arma's old. And Arma doesn't run very good. And this game actually runs fairly good. Now, there is a lot of functionality that's missing from this game, such as here. I'm using an HK4, I believe I'm using an HK416. And for some odd reason, I don't have selective fire. That was the same way with the MP7 I was using earlier. I couldn't figure out how to switch it from semi-auto to full auto. So that kind of sucks. I can't really command the squad around, although I'm sure that's more along the lines of the squad leader's job. I didn't get to try out the squad leader, unfortunately. So I really don't know what the squad leader does, etc., compared to any of the other squads in the game. The graphics, they're okay-ish. I wouldn't write home to mom about them. They are perfectly fine, in my opinion, for a free-to-play game. But there's definitely better out there. Honestly, once again, guys, this is early access. So any criticism I have, keep in mind, early access. And I am keeping that in mind as well as I'm making the criticisms. But the game, from what I see of the game, it definitely does need more development, and they are working on doing more development. Drakeling Labs is actually just a small indie team. The sound effects seem perfectly fine. The gunplay doesn't seem bad either. You know, you do have semi-autos, you do have full autos, bolt action rifles, and everything else. You actually do have medical bandages, although the health system is extremely simplified. You can die pretty quickly, although it looks like the only way you're going to die from one shot is if you get shot in the head or probably blown up. You get blown up, that's pretty much an instant death as well. I didn't find any melee options, so I do hope they intend adding melee combat into the game. They may have that for multiplayer, just not for single player. Don't really know. And it did seem like at times that the AI was charging at me to do like a bayonet charge, but kind of went, oh, yeah, I don't have a bayonet. So that was actually interesting to point out. The AI could also use a little bit more work, definitely. I mean, I see in moments where like an AI would point at me and like instead of even firing a shot, or sometimes they'd fire a shot at me and then they turn and shoot someone else. So definitely little tweaks are definitely going to be needed, I would say, before the release of this game. The other thing, and this is kind of like the highlight for me, because they are intending to, they want to make this kind of like the go-to shooter, if you will. First-person tactical shooter. You know, you have a lot of different first-person tactical shooters out there that do a lot of different things. I myself, I have Day of Infamy, and I have Hell Let Loose, and those are my World War II shooters. And then I have Rising Storm Vietnam, which if I want to play Vietnam era, I have to play that game instead. So right there, we already have 3 games I need installed. Then I have Escape from Tarkov, and I also have Ready or Not. So if I want to do a more modern shooter, I have to also have those games installed. So now we're up to 5 games. And basically, it would be interesting to see a more modernized go-to shooter, a shooter that can do anything and everything, that does actually have mod support, so the game itself continuously evolves, even after the developers have decided to stop developing and supporting the game, because I'm sure at some point the development's going to pretty much turn into just about nothing for this game. I mean, you know, that's just bound to happen. So, you know, development teams get moved on to other various projects or whatever. And that's kind of what Arma has going for it, is that you can literally do anything and everything with Arma. And it would be interesting to actually have another shooter out there that can do something very similar, that you can do anything and everything. If you want to play World War I, fire up this game and you can do World War I. Now, that being said, Day of Infamy also does World War I, but that's through mods. But either ways, I didn't really think, overall, you know, my experience wasn't overly negative. I definitely want to see more development in this game before I would want to sink my teeth into it. But I definitely do recommend people just going out there, downloading the demo from Steam. You can literally download the demo from Steam for absolutely nothing. You don't have to pay for it or anything like that. As well as, if you really like what you see in the demo, you can obviously go to their Patreon page and throw them support and see even, or at least assist in some way with the further development of Operation Harsh Doorstop. Anyway, folks, that's just some quick thoughts and discussion about Operation Doorstop. Like I said, tactical indie shooter coming soon. They're actually hoping to do a release later this year for an actual full beta. So we'll see how that works out for them. I hope it works well. Anyway, folks, thanks again for tuning in, and have yourself a wonderful day.